the artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You've got to take big chances in order for potential for a big positive outcome.
Hello, welcome back to Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company. Coming to you today with a very brief episode today, trying to keep this as short as possible. There's been some interesting news relating to the Boring Company recently and covering quite a few different topics, which is new. I like it that way, but let's discuss what's been going on and why this is important for the development of the Boring Company. So it's sort of happening. They're starting to get serious about Hyperloop. I still think this is a way away, but it's interesting to see them talking about that. Other couple of pieces of breaking news as well. So yeah, Elon Musk tweeted, "In the coming years, Boring Co will attempt to build a working Hyperloop." Notice coming years. That could be 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, who knows, could be a decade. But they are starting to think about this. This is a good thing for the Boring Company. It's going to make it easier for them to attract talent when they have a more broad mission than just building affordable tunnels and affordable kind of transport systems. We're also talking about intercity travel as well. So from a known physics standpoint, this is the fastest possible way of getting from one city centre to another for distances less than 2,000 miles. Starship is faster for longer journeys. So that doesn't mean a Hyperloop won't be more than 2,000 miles long, but the connections in between will have to be less than 2,000 miles. So for example, you could probably go from like Chicago to LA. That would probably work. But if, say, you were going from, let's say, Vancouver to Rio de Janeiro, obviously that's not going to be quite as feasible. But it's interesting to see them talking about this. There was another tweet as well. Underground tunnels are immune to surface weather conditions. We've heard Elon Musk talk about this in the past. Some people tweeted some strange photographs of the New York subway being flooded. And they forget really that over the last 100 years, it's not really flooded. You know, the reason it's flooding is because of poor building practices, poor maintenance, and bad designs basically. Hyperloop is a lot easier to make it waterproof because you've not got that many egress and entry points into the system. So it's interesting. So the Boring Company then tweeted this: Hyperloop testing at full scale begins later this year. I have no idea what they mean by this. I was a little bit surprised to see this tweet. There's no current track or tube that exists on any current Boring Company sites. So are they going to start building that from scratch? Is this like a small model, that's like 90% smaller than the proposed system, or what does it actually mean? This I don't really know, but it's good to see them talking about this again. I think this is a great way to attract young talent into a company. Also a good way to kind of sell your product, which is very affordable, fast tunneling. High quality tunneling to potentially other companies that are maybe working in the Hyperloop space, and maybe other industries as well. So all in all, I'm quite pleased with this particular announcement, but you've got to understand that this is many years away. We're not going to see the Boring Company building working systems, even for itself or for other companies, in the next sort of 5 years. Nothing's going to happen in the next 5 years. We might see something after 6, 7, maybe 8 years, but it's not really going to happen as soon as you think it will. I think another thing worth noting here as well is that the Boring Company is going to have to start essentially from scratch on this one. Now they have the tunneling technology, but that's only kind of 20% of what you need to deliver a working Hyperloop. I have a thesis about what might happen in regards to that, but let's just have a look at why they're now becoming a little bit more serious about the Hyperloop. Obviously, they've worked on a few projects now. They, as a company, they're starting to progress. They've raised some money recently. You know, they've got a kind of a reasonably solid team now that they can depend on. So now the company is turning its attention onto the Hyperloop. But the main kind of body of energy will go towards the loop systems, the kind of inner city, suburban kind of routes. But there will be a small amount of time moved towards the Hyperloop. So why are they serious about that now? Well, Proof of Work's development is on track. They have the current test facility at Bastrop, and I expect they will start to get that machine up to scale. Whether they will achieve, you know, a mile a week in the next sort of 3 to 4 years remains to be seen, but I suspect that they will get well on the way to kind of doing 100, 150 meters per day. Whether they can get up beyond 200 meters per day is another thing. Whether they can do, you know, walking pace is really quite a long way in the future. Virgin Hyperloop on the verge of bankruptcy. So there's a lot of good people that work at Virgin Hyperloop, but it is more of a marketing company, to be frank. A lot of the people at the top of Virgin Hyperloop are essentially marketing, and they're not actually super serious about building a system. So them going bankrupt, a lot of talent appearing in the US, a lot of talented engineers. Maybe there's an opportunity to scoop them up and have them work for yourself. It might not necessarily be all Hyperloop engineering, but some of it, you know, certainly could transfer across. So just to stress as well, Virgin have not gone bankrupt yet. They've made some very big cuts, but I suspect that they basically are on the verge of you know, calling it quits. And they might really downsize to a very small team and just continue, but you know, that's not really very much, is it? The oil company has sufficient funding to start additional R&D, so they basically raised $650 million in and around that amount, and ultimately that gives the company some capital to pursue other projects other than just tunneling technology, TBMs, etc. Company wants us and needs to attract new engineering talent. I think a big sell for a company is if you have this kind of broad vision of what you want to achieve, and it's not just about reducing you know, congestion on city streets in big towns and cities across the US and Europe and other continents, but also maybe even connecting countries and states and things like that with Hyperloop networks, and young people who are, you know, fresh out of university are very attracted to those kind of big ideas. So it'll certainly help the company when it wants to bring people in. And when you join the company, you're not necessarily going to be working in the Hyperloop. You know, you might be working purely on TBM technology, but you have it in your mind that at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, as you progress, you might end up working on the Hyperloop with the Boring company. I have a prediction. I think this is pretty safe prediction, actually. I think this is going to happen. The reason I think this is going to happen is because a lot of companies in this space just can't execute, and if they can't execute, they can't make money, and if they can't make money, they're basically, you know, just walking, you know, money burning machines, even if they're doing great work. And I think something's going to happen over the next sort of 2 to 3 years, and I'll tell you now what it's going to be. The Boring company will acquire one of these Hyperloop companies, and there's kind of 3 core reasons. One, these companies are going to go under anyway, and they would rather make it out as though they were successful and merge into another company than basically go bankrupt and then we see all the headlines. Another thing is you've got all this talent here, and the companies are not actually worth that much. You know, we're talking hundreds of millions, not billions of dollars. So the Boring company acquiring these companies would be fairly easy and it wouldn't be that expensive. And also, they've done all the work already. So by acquiring these companies, and they're startup companies, so they've got the mindset that they need to work long hours, they need to, make sacrifices, they need to do a bit of everything rather than just specialise in one area. So all that engineering talent, it would be a waste if the companies just folded and disappeared and all that data was lost. So I think the Boeing company may acquire one of these companies, may acquire up to 2 companies on this list. Now, Virgin Hyperloop are probably going to do a disappearing act, I suspect, in the next 12 months, maybe slightly longer. A lot of that talent may end up coming and working for the Boeing company. A lot of people there are more kind of marketing guys and girls, and they will just disappear off into the abyss. Probably move into cryptocurrency, who knows. I think, in terms of companies to acquire, Hyperloop TT and Transpod have both the best kind of designs and the best kind of visions, and they're well run. And either one of those companies, Transpod or Hyperloop TT, would be a good acquisition. Now, I don't rule out the fact that Hart might become a European subsidiary of the Boeing company, but it seems kind of unlikely. And Nevomo have a different kind of vision for Hyperloop, and they're relatively new on the scene. So I think it's going to be either Hyperloop TT or Transpod that the Boeing company acquire. All that engineering talent comes to work for the Boeing company. It gives a massive boost to the company, and they don't need to waste 5 years doing research into Hyperloop. It's already done and dusted. In terms of costings and kind of construction systems that they were going to use to build these systems, it's all done and dusted, all that work, so that's incredible. In other news, Resorts World is not yet open. Some people have been tweeting about this, saying, I'm going to go and invite the Resorts World loop this week, and I said, well, I don't think you are, because it's not quite finished yet. Some people are absolutely adamant that this system is now open. It's not. It'll be either the end of this week or the beginning of next week that this system kind of opens for testing purposes, and then a couple of days later we might see passengers using it. But we're talking 5 to 10 days before this system really opens properly, and we start to see actual paying passengers use it. Pedestrian tunnel. So there's been this proposal for a pedestrian tunnel in a place called Kyle in Texas. This is not going to be a project that makes any money for the Boeing company. This is more kind of them demonstrating the ability to build tunnels and to test systems and to train the engineers that work for the company. So let me just read you, most of this you already know, but so it's for a railroad pedestrian underpass. City of Kyle is interested in constructing a pedestrian underpass of the, I assume that's the Union Pacific Railroad tracks south of Kyle Parkway, as shown in conceptual drawing. This document is available on Discord if you want to look at it, to provide connections between the Plum Creek underpass and accommodate multimodal transport options, both slow and fast, including electric vehicles, bicycles and pedestrians. So I was quite surprised to read that it's not just going to be a pedestrian underpass. There might be some electric cars that go on there, but I wonder if they're talking about more kind of small vehicles rather than big F-150 trucks and things like that. There was some interesting information here surrounding the actual details in terms of the metrics of the particular system. I'll just read them for you now. So kind of like as per all previous projects, it has a 12-foot internal diameter and a 13.5-foot external diameter. So I've already mentioned that in previous videos. 9-inch thick reinforced concrete segments. Now we know that because someone that has really helped this channel a lot went out and actually measured one of these segments for me. So we knew that already, but it's good to see it there in black and white. One thing that kind of surprised me is once mining of the tunnel is complete, a flat paved road surface is installed. I hope it's concrete. I have a funny feeling it'll be asphalt, but hey, it's installed near the invert with a 10-foot width. Now, if the road deck is 10 foot wide, that would mean that its depth would be well over 4.5 foot deep. Now, I've obviously advocated for well over 1 meter deep, but 4.5 foot, which is well over that, is quite considerable. And basically, you know, you've got 40% of the tunnel is basically just underneath your feet. So I'm wondering if that is a typo, or maybe that's the kind of standard that they're going with now to make the road deck wider. I wonder if it'll be more kind of a hollow road deck, and you'll have an opening below that where you'll run utilities. But you know, it remains to be seen. Hopefully, that we'll see that in future drawings. But yeah, it's a good little project. Hopefully, it'll help train some people up, and you know, it'll show that the Boeing company is the real deal and can deliver projects in and around Texas for affordable prices. Has also received this drawing for the Bastrop test facility there. All these drawings and documents are available on Reddit if you want them, or on our Discord. We kind of already know what they're attempting to do here at Bastrop, but it's good to see drawings kind of confirming that. As you can see, it's like an up and under porpoising kind of tunnel. Everything we already know, 17.5 degree gradient, both in the downwards and upwards trajectory. In terms of the tunnel length, it's up to 433 feet. It might be slightly more than that or slightly less than that, but that's kind of the average. Good to see. Again, more work on the machine. You're kind of doing the most difficult bit about launching a TBM, which is actually mounting that TBM on a cradle, setting up your various systems, including your conveyor belt system and supply lines, and then commissioning the machine and launching it, and then at the end, obviously removing the machine from the trench that you've excavated. So all the hard work is done in a relatively short period of time, and that's a good learning exercise for the team. So it'll be exciting to see that one completed. Just to kind of finish off, so I did mention this in a previous video, but I just want to mention it again as it's a kind of new thing that's been mentioned by the Boeing company, which is this Zpit kind of strategy. It's like, unlike traditional TBMs, which require upwards of a dozen or more people to operate, Proof is designed to be capable of operating completely remotely and autonomously via a computerized systems, and require 0 people in the tunnel to operate. So if they are able to achieve this, this is actually an absolutely monumentous achievement. Obviously, this is going to take a good couple of years of work, but it's good to see a new strategy coming out of the Boeing company. And I'm really excited to kind of see the development of this. It does have profound implications, but also just in terms of kind of building colonies on places like the Moon and Mars, and mining. Potentially, if you could build a TBM that does all the work itself, then you know you're potentially opening up a lot of doors there. Although it is still very, very difficult, we're excited to see that. What else have we got? Okay, so that's kind of all the news episode for this week. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you're excited about the Hyperloop and various other things. Please, comment below if you have any opinions on those particular topics. If you've not already done so, please like and subscribe to the channel, and please comment on the video. Consider following me on these various social media platforms, including Twitter, which is owned by Elon Musk, very shortly. Patreons, as always, brilliant. Thanks for supporting me. I can't do this without you. You're all amazing. If you've not already done so, please consider supporting me on Patreon for just $2 per month. Yeah, so that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Things are going really well for the Boeing company, and it's moving in the right direction. And anyone saying that the Boeing company is a failure is living in the past, and is not going to enjoy the next 12 to 18 months. They're really going to have quite a bad day. Okay, hope you had a good time. I will see you on the next video. Goodbye, and don't be boring. See ya.
You have no honor.